Okay, in this video, I'll be opening the recently scanned TIFF. The TIFF file was scanned in the line art mode, or the 1-bit line art mode, text mode, lots of different names for that. So there will only be white and black pixels in the file. As you can see, the file itself is showing up as having only 347 kilobytes of information. This file was scanned at a high resolution, a resolution of 1200 pixels per inch at its current print size at 100%. So I'm going to right click or control click and open the file with Photoshop. I'm running 2021 version. I'm going to open the file. I guess it was already waiting for me there. And first, let me show you what happens when I zoom all the way in. Right? So as you can see, what would have been maybe a soft edge because of the texture of the paper, maybe where the evidence of the fibers of the paper interacting with the fibers with the hairs of the brush and the ink, all of that has been translated into black and white pixels. So at this stage, I can make a decision about whether or not I want to keep that. Now, if this file were printed at 100% with a good quality printer, that information would just read as texture, as you can see here in this view. At this level of magnification, these are still going to read as ink marks. However, in Photoshop, there will be, as you can see as I go through these menus, several functions are going to be grayed out. They're not going to be available if the file is still in that 1-bit line art mode. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to switch this to Grayscale. If you are using Clip Studio Paint, the professional version or the standard version, you can actually work with bitmap files as part of your workflow. It handles them nicely. You can preserve that look, that data, in the same file as maybe your grayscale renderings or your color layers. So in order to switch this over to something that would give me the ability to add either tone or color, I have to go to Image, Mode, and right now I'm set to Bitmap, and so I have to go through these steps. I have to first convert this to grayscale. I have to specify the conversion ratio. How do I want to convert my current pixels to at their current resolution to the grayscale file, and what resolution do I want that to be. This gets a little technical, so bear with me. The current image size in terms of storage size is this big. The print size, the width and height, is about 8 by 11.5. The resolution, the number of pixels per inch, so if I were to take a ruler and measure 1 inch, I would have 1200 pixels in a row, or in a stack, vertically or horizontally. So when I do the conversion, I want to do what's called resizing. So I'm going to turn off resample, and notice that now the width, height, and resolution are linked. If I change one, everything else will change. So let's see if we can figure out these ratios here. I'm going to make this into a percentage. Right now we're at 100%. And if I wanted the file, I wanted to resize the pixels so that they're no longer at 1200, but instead at maybe 300 pixels per inch, which is standard for high quality printing. Can't see what happened there. Let's switch this back to inches. Notice what happens here. I have a lot of resolution in there already in this 15 megabyte file, 16 megabyte file. So if I resize the pixels to 300, the print size that I could have with all that data at 300 pixels per inch is actually pretty big. I can go close to 50 inches along the vertical. Okay, but if I do this, I will be limited to printing this at Bitmap, which is white and black pixels. So I can't add color, I can't add grayscale rendering. So that's why we have to first kind of figure out what ratio we need to use to convert this to 300. So I tried to make the numbers easy for you all. So I'm going to Option click to reset. So if I want to go from 1200 to resize the pixels to 300 pixels per inch, then you say 1200 divided by 300, and we can do this with a factor of 4. What does that mean? So if I go up here to Image, Mode, and I want to convert to grayscale, Photoshop will ask me, how do I want to convert, from the pixels I have now in terms of their dimensions to the grayscale. So if I choose 4 for the conversion and click OK, remember we're starting at 1200, so you want to divide in your mind 1200 divided by 4, clicking OK. So the image got a little smaller, and then if I go back to image size, you see the print size is reduced quite a bit. It's down to 1 inch, but I still have this high resolution, and I'm in grayscale. So if I turn off resample and resize, and say my target resolution was 300, I'm pretty close to the original print size. And now I'm in grayscale, and if I want to make this an RGB file or a CMYK file for print, nothing's going to change in terms of the dimensions or the editability of the file. All right. So that was something I came across this in a digital painting techniques for manga book that was published many years ago. Yeah, it took me a long time to wrap my head around it, but it is now, if I do scan to line art, this is a part of my workflow. You have to do that conversion. Anticipate how much resolution you need. Think about how much time you have to wait for the art to be scanned as line art. It took about maybe 7 or 8 minutes on my old scanner here. And then you have to do the conversion, of course. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Now, take a look at the result of the conversion. So this is something the software does automatically. And you see I'm ending up with some grays introduced that weren't there before. I'm not sure there's a workaround for that, but again, you can decide to keep that. If you're a little bit more advanced or intermediate, you might explore some of these other adjustments like threshold, which can be used to knock out the grays completely. But I'm going to go ahead and keep those new introduced textures in there and just talk about, in the next video, I'll talk about the cleanup process. Okay? See you in a bit.